welcome back to the Scarfey Talks Premier League podcast. In this episode, we'll be reviewing Game Week 24 in the Premier League. A lot has happened in this game week, and of course, we've had deadline day since as well. So, crazy amount for discussion. We have already talked about deadline day because we've done a big deadline day stream, which Ollie is a guest on tonight. This podcast is also on that, which is fantastic. 5 hours and 40 minutes streaming exactly yesterday. So we covered everything, all the news as it happened, and not a huge deadline day, if I'm honest with you, not for my club Tottenham and not for the Premier League as a whole, but still deals happen. Biggest probably being, I think, Strand Larsen to Crystal Palace. There's a lot going on with Palace though. But let's introduce tonight's panel. Firstly, I'm joined by Arsenal fan Sophie, founder of Gruner Gossip TV, a fantastic channel. Sophie, been a big win for Arsenal this weekend, and away from the football, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm really good, thank you, and thank you so much for having me on your channel again today. And yeah, I'm looking forward to this one.
No problem at all. Thank you very much for coming on and giving me your time. Should be a good one. Ollie, welcome back after being on for deadline day. Thank you very much for coming on that one, and thank you for coming on today. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm not too bad, thank you. I'm excited to get going. I really enjoyed yesterday, so I'm looking forward to today's. Looking forward to it.
Should be good. Yeah, it should be. Definitely. Thank you very much, Ollie. Mikey, thank you very much for your time, your debut on the channel as a whole, but of course the Scarfey Talks Premier League podcast. How are you doing? You're a Spurs fan.
Well, as a Spurs fan, life is ups and downs. It's full of them. But on the whole, I'm doing well, and I'm happy to be here. So thanks for having me.
No worries. Thank you for your time. Should be a good one. And with Spurs, there's always something to talk about. I mean, you can vouch for that. And it definitely is in this case. Crazy game, one of two halves. Thank you very, very much. I mean, I'd argue that everyone on the panel tonight is happy. I'd argue that as an Arsenal fan, as a Bournemouth fan, and a Tottenham fan, or at least can take some positives from the game. Thank you very much for everyone that's listening as well as all my fantastic guests for coming on. Let's get straight into it then to review Game Week 24. We'll start with Leeds and Arsenal, which ended 4-0 to Arsenal at Ellen Road. Sophie, of course, I'm going to start with you. Give us your thoughts. How you feeling post-match? A convincing win for Arsenal. Is that what you needed after suffering a defeat against United, probably unexpectedly last time out in the league?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't actually sure how we were going to do going into this game because obviously Leeds is a bit of a difficult one away from home, but yeah, I thought we were really good in that game. I think I was pleasantly surprised. Sometimes you don't know what you're going to get with Arsenal. Sometimes we don't always play sort of the best football, but in that game we were amazing. Yeah, I can't lie, happy with the win. I think the performance was what we needed. Like you said, to lose to United was quite shocking and surprising. So I think we needed that for our confidence, and obviously going into the game, we had to do our job and hope Man City would drop points, which they did. But yeah, I'm just happy we got the job done and we had a few different goal scorers. So yeah, can't lie, good win and the clean sheet. So really happy with it.
Sophie, thank you very much. Who do you think for you played the best in that game? Because of course you've got a lot of top players and strong competition at the moment. Who stood out to you the most?
I think Madueke was really good. I think obviously Saka being injured, but not ideal. But again, Madueke has been quite good. The goals he hasn't been getting, but I think he really stood out to me in that game. And I think he for me was probably the one that stood out the most to me. I know obviously Zubimendi was better as well. I think defensively we did what we had to do. There wasn't too much to do really. It was pretty much all Arsenal, but yeah, I think Madueke definitely deserves that credit because I thought he was amazing in the game.
Definitely, absolutely agree with that. Thank you very, very much. Appreciate it. Ollie, if I come to you, what were your thoughts on this game? Leeds have been a lot better of late, really. When things got tougher, Leeds have really turned it around and they're competitive in games, but the scoreline does not reflect this. So, bad day at the office for Leeds?
Yeah, I think so, especially because they're at home as well. I think Leeds are typically better at home than they are away. And I think they'll be pretty upset to lose by that much, and obviously not get many chances either. I think Arsenal were brilliant. I think they, got outclassed by a much better side, but I think Leeds would be disappointed that they couldn't get more from that. But I think, at the end of the day, I don't think Leeds were expecting a result at all. It was just more about putting a performance in. I don't think they did that, and I think they'd be quite disappointed with that.
Agree with that. Thank you very much, Mikey. You got anything to add on this game? Very comfortable for Mikel Arteta's men.
I wish it wasn't. Obviously, sitting here in the Spurs colours, but credit where credit's due. It was a solid performance. Winning 4-0 away from home against any team, even if it is a promoted one, is no small task in the Premier League. Gyökeres scoring again. It looks like he's finally getting into his stride, so to speak, you know. But what I like about Arsenal is the way the goals are spread around. I think Gyökeres is only the top scorer in the league for Arsenal with 6 goals. And the way they've spread the goals around, 4 different goal scorers, it's a credit that it's not going all through one focal point, like has maybe been the criticism of Arsenal in recent years, going through Saka too much or going through Odegaard too much. And now that they've got an array of options up top, it looks like it's finally coming to fruition. It's an unfortunate loss with Mikel Merino's injury, which is unfortunate. But yeah, I have to agree, bad day at the office for Leeds, and that goal difference won't do them any favours in the relegation race, unfortunately.
That's a very good point you make. That's a really good point about, it could come down to, couldn't it, goal difference ultimately? Because I see it, I don't know about you guys, seeing it being very tight between the clubs like Leeds and Forest at the end. Yeah. I think it could be crucial. I don't know whether really, like, for example, I don't think Wolves and Burnley can get anywhere near, certainly not at the moment, but West Ham, I think, will get probably close. So goal difference could be key. Mikey, thank you very much for raising that. Sophie, before we move on to the next game, I mean, Mikey mentions there, and rightly so, Victor Gyökeres. What have you made of him recently? He's now starting to score goals and looking better.
Yeah, definitely. I think the goal that he got, I think it was a really good delivery from Martinelli. So I think if we play like that a lot more, and we pass Gyökeres a lot more in good positions, I think he's a lot more likely to score. He did obviously have other chances, which he did miss. I think that's going to happen. But yeah, I do think if we play more direct to him, pass to him more in better positions, I think he's going to get more goals. Like we said here, he has been scoring a bit more now, obviously in the Champions League. Obviously, the games you do want him to score in is obviously Arsenal's game tonight against Chelsea. You want him to turn up in these big moments. But yeah, I think he's probably just taking a bit of time to adapt to the league. And I'm interested to see how it goes, but I want us to pass to him more and be a bit more direct. But I would say I'm quite happy with how it's going for him right now.
Okay, Sophie, thank you very much for that. I appreciate that. We'll have to see if he can keep up, this good form. Thank you. Of course, Ollie, I'm going to come to you to talk about your 2-0 win at Molineux against Wolves. So, yeah, what were your thoughts on this game? Because I don't know, we're going to get your thoughts on this. Were you a little bit worried, going into the game? Because I know it sounds silly. Wolves, the little points they have and, where they find themselves in the table, 20th place. So it sounds silly to say you could be worried about this game. They've been a lot better in 2026. So, how would you feel before the match and how do you feel now knowing that you've got the job done?
Yeah, I think I spoke to a few people about it, actually, and they said they were nervous, as well as me, actually. I was a little bit nervous coming into it because you don't really know what they're going to come into the match like. And I think they showed their quality, actually, during the game as well, because they were good. I think on a Wolves side of view, I think when they concede, they do kind of crumble a little bit. I think they can show that they get knocked. And I think we came into the game different to usually how we usually play, which is very like dominant football. I think we came counter-attacking because we know that they do have threat, and they showed that. They showed a lot of threat, and obviously they still had Strand Larsen. When he came on, he did really well, actually, I noticed. It didn't look like he was halfway out the door, which is actually quite surprising. I thought we played quite well in the circumstances, but I don't think it was a 2-0 game. I think at one point in the second half, actually, they forced a save out of Petrovic, where if they hit it left or right, it would have gone in, but they hit it right in the middle, and Petrovic was able to get it away. And then Strand Larsen hit the post as well, and hit one just narrowly wide. I think at that point we were thinking that's going to be 1-1 there. That's just a clear draw. And then obviously at the end, Alex Scott hits one in from 2 yards and finishes the game off. But I thought we played well in the circumstances. They had a lot of pressure put on us. Obviously, playing how they are at the moment, they haven't got a lot of points, so they can play with just the pride of trying to get a few points on the board and try and see where they are. Whereas we need to get points to be able to go up in the table release the pressure from us. There's a lot more pressure on us at the moment. I'll put it that way. But I think with that pressure, we came in the right way. We got the 3 points. That's the most important thing for us.
The points are what matters. That's the thing. It's results-based business. But you've been picking up more points recently, particularly more wins. I was going to say the vitality, but of course you win away from home in this game. Do you think you've now turned a corner after, I want to say a slow start? It wasn't. I think you started well, but it was a struggle, wasn't it? That November, December period seems to be for the Cherries. But you look better now?
Yeah, I mean, that's our first away win in a while, actually. I can't remember the last time we won away. But I think that shows how far we've progressed since our bad patch of form. And I think obviously when it hit us hard. But we did have a good start to the season. But I feel like Andoni's had a learning point where he realizes we can't just play this high line football all the time, especially with the defenders we have at the minute, because Dean Howson and Zabani were a lot quicker, and they could get onto balls a lot quicker, whereas Senesi, he's a great defender, but he's slow. James Hill is, he's not, he hasn't got the reactions that Zabani and Howson had because they are brilliant defenders. So we've had to adapt to that, and I think we've adapted quite well, with a bit more of a low block. I think we saw that against Arsenal a few weeks ago. Actually, there was, we were playing a lot more defensive, even at home. Did the same against Liverpool. Did the same against Tottenham. And it's worked so far, and it shows that we have more than just a plan A, which is just totally dominant football. And I think we'll learn from that and get better.
Fair enough. Thank you very much, Ollie, for that. I do appreciate it. Mikey, if I come to you on Wolves, I mean, they were active in the transfer window, particularly on deadline day. But for them now, it feels just unrealistic, doesn't it? It always was for them to stay in the Premier League. Where do Wolves go from here? What's to get back to winning ways? Is that the aim? Because I think they've got to focus on just trying to get results. And it feels like they're almost playing for pride already. But it doesn't feel right to say that because we're in February.
I think Wolves are in a bit of a unique position because they're 18 points off safety. I think my math is right at the moment. And that's a 6-game winning streak with all your rivals losing all their other games. And there's only 14 games left. It's when they've only won one game all season, it would be one of the greatest escapes the Premier League's ever seen, but it just doesn't look like it. There was a really good video done by a YouTube channel I'm a big fan of called HITC7s, and they did an in-depth dive into Wolves. And it doesn't look like when they play, it doesn't look like they believe that they can. Like, it's one thing believing that you can and they're not getting the results, but the body language is all wrong. As Ollie said, when they concede one, they crumble. They've only got 8 points and we're in February. And when the bottom three teams aren't as bad as the last 2 years have been, when it looks like certainly Sunderland and even Leeds are pushing well above where people might have expected them to be come the end of the season, there was always going to be a big Premier League casualty this year, and Wolves have been far worse than I think most of us thought they were going to be, but they've been the one to take the hit, unfortunately. And it looks like they're almost preparing for life in the Championship, not necessarily with the signings that they're making, but just it doesn't look healthy. It doesn't, from the outside looking in, it just doesn't look healthy at all. Even with the change of chairman, it just doesn't look like they are gonna kick on the way they should.
It doesn't look good at all for them. Thank you very much. But full credit to them because they look better in 2026. And I don't like to see a team that are so far behind the rest. And Wolves have been better in 2026. Better performances, better results, smiles on the faces. So that's always good to see. Next game was Brighton and Everton. The score is not updated. So Sophie, I'll come to you first. What were your thoughts on this game? It ended 1-1 in the end.
Yeah, I think both sides had a lot of chances. I mean, I think it was quite a fair game, and I think they could have been a bit of a high-scoring game because I think both sides had some great chances, but they both really just couldn't put them away. But yeah, I think it is what it is. I mean, Everton I think both teams needed a win in this game. I think they're both struggling with that aspect. But yeah, I think it was probably a fair result because I think they both equally struggled to really finish their chances, really. That's just my thoughts in general.
Thank you for that. Ollie, would you say it's a game of two halves? It felt like Brighton dominant in the first half, a little reward for it. Then it felt like Everton, boom, really strong in that second half. And of course, scoring in the 97th minute through Beto. So I suppose fair play to Everton for keep going, but also Brighton, they look good in this game, but another game without a win for the Seagulls.
Yeah, I think as Sophie said, really, it's both the teams are struggling to score at the moment. I think that's quite obvious. And yeah, I think it's a game of two halves, really. I think both teams wanted to get something out of it, and they really struggled to put chances away. But I think, it's a learning point for the pair of them. I think they need to work on their finishing. They need to be more clinical. Obviously, Brighton in the first half, they're very dominant. I don't think Everton had a single shot in the first half, actually. In the second half, Everton pushed Brighton back. But it probably shows where both of them are at the moment, where they're, they're quite good, trying to prevent goals going in, but scoring is a different matter. I think they're both at the same point at the moment.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, absolutely. I'd say that Everton maybe are in a healthier position where they are and they're able to fight for Europe, and I fancy them more than Brighton. But
Yeah,
to take your point, they are close together, aren't they? Yeah, there's not
yeah,
much
there's
gap
not a
between
lot
them.
in it in terms of points, is there actually? Like, I think the table does tell a bit of a lie at the moment in terms of where teams are based, because it's such a competitive league this season and anything can happen. A few wins in 16th or 15th and you're up to 10th in a couple of games. So very competitive.
So true, absolutely. You look at it and people go, "What are you talking about, Harry? There's 4 or 5 places between the teams, but the points are like so minimal." And like, make no mistake about it, right? It's as clear as this. Brighton beat Everton, boom, leapfrog. And that's how it's like at the moment, and it's crazy. And like my club Spurs are a good example of it, actually. Not a good example for many things, but in this case, 14th in the table. But it depends on your glass half full, half empty. I'd argue nobody thinks it's acceptable to be 14th, but we're 9 points away from 7th. We're 10 points away from 6th, but also we're only 9 points from the drop. So which way do you look at it, right? I look 10 points away from 6th, or you're 9 points away from going down. So that's the thing. Depends which way you look at it, and that's a huge swing, by the way, in terms of like from 6th to 20th, from 18th. So just a good example there. But Sophie, if I come to you on this one, come back to you on it. David Moyes, he was booked for his celebration, and he's quite vocal in his thoughts about that after the game. Said he would have done a knee slide if he felt a little bit more able to do it. So, what did you make of him being booked for celebrating, and also his post-match comments, which are quite humorous?
Yeah, I mean, it was quite funny, wasn't it? Like him, what he's had to say. I don't think you should really be booked for celebrating. I do agree with him on that. I think it's part of football. I think as a manager, you'll feel those emotions as we probably do as fans in that moment. So I think he has every right to say that. It is crazy, isn't it? Thinking about it, the fact he was booked for enjoying that moment and celebrating. So I think it's good on him actually for actually speaking about it. But yeah, I think it's just crazy to be booked for that, in my opinion. I just don't think it's great at all.
No, it doesn't make sense at all to me, if I'm honest. Thank you very much. Next game, then, 5 goals at Stamford Bridge. Chelsea 3, West Ham 2. Mikey, I come to you. This is, of course, the We Hate Tottenham More derby, but in all seriousness, crazy game. West Ham burst into a 2-0 lead. They literally playing kicky-uppies and little flicks here and there, and West Ham looking like prime Barcelona. Then it come falling down. I mean, not Stamford Bridge falling down, but West Ham falling down in this case. So what do you make of this game? It's difficult to sum up, but crazy in the end. West Ham coming away with nothing.
I mean, West Ham have been on, a good little run of form recently, especially kind of in that, when they went into a 2-goal lead, you're thinking, wow, this actually might be a game for them to go and win, and I, for one, was on the phone with my Chelsea friend during this half. And when the second goal went in, he was effing and blinding down the phone for understandable reasons. It reminds me a little bit of the game. I can't remember if it was earlier this season or last season where Lucas Paquetá scored that amazing goal. I think it was against Chelsea, and then they went on to lose like 4-1. It's coming a little bit of a pattern for the Irons, but I'm sure that the performance will give confidence to West Ham. But for Chelsea, it was a much needed comeback. There's been a lot of talk recently about their winning run under their new manager, Liam Rosenior, who I have rated since he was at Hull, and then he's gone to Strasbourg and done amazing things, and then come to Chelsea, and I think he's won 5 out of his first 7. And there was that joke online about if the United strand was a Chelsea fan, he would have had his hair cut by now. So that's it's good to see. As a neutral, it's good to see a new manager succeed. Obviously, as a Spurs fan, I'd rather it not be at Chelsea. But either way, I'm happy that young English manager has come to a big club and not immediately gone down the pan like maybe a Graham Potter did, because the Chelsea job can suck you up. And obviously, it's only early days for Liam Rosenior. But if he continues on his way, he could become one of the best English managers in the game, and there might be a Liam Rosenior-sized hole in the national team not too soon. So we'll see what happens. But I'm very happy with what he's doing from a personal point of view. But obviously, I don't like Chelsea, so it's a double-edged coin, really.
Absolutely, double-edged sword. Thank you very much for that one, Ollie. I come to you. Firstly, focus on West Ham. There are positives to take, aren't there? It's going to hurt when you get 0 points. The situation West Ham are in, they need points. They need ideally wins, right? And they look at this 2-0 up cruise position and they couldn't take advantage, come away with nothing. So don't get it wrong, plenty of negatives. But do you think West Ham could look at that first half and go, look, we play with confidence. We look like a team with momentum. We need to play like that more often because we'd be all right if we do.
Yeah, I think they will. However, that's got hurt, hasn't it, really? A last-minute winner as well from Chelsea. I think the red card as well, I think that shows where they are mentality-wise. I think they're struggling to find that kind of confidence and motivation to kind of see off games. Commenting on their performance, they were great in the first half. They were clinical. They worked the ball well. They made chances where they haven't before as well. Obviously, I think Louis touched on their defence yesterday in the podcast, and he said that there's basically no hope for them in defence. Take it how you want from Louis. But he said that there was a lot of bad things to say about the defence, and I think he was right with that. I think defensive wise, they're all over the shop. And I do think there's positives to take. I think if I was a West Ham fan, I'd think, well, that first half performance, if you take that onto the next game, I don't know who they have in the next game, but if they take that onto the next game, they should be winning that, really. As long as there's no hiccups. But onto Chelsea, really, I think Rosenior it's quite evident that he's a great motivator. There's 2 comebacks in the last 2 games for them. He's clearly got something where he knows how to motivate the team. I think all the stuff he says about all the crazy stuff he says in the interviews, to be honest with him, there's something going on with how he motivates his players, because it is working. And I don't think that's any fault of West Ham. I know the defense is a bit all over the shop, but Chelsea did well to get that comeback, and they worked hard for that. I could just tell, and you can tell how much that means to the players.
I think you're right to raise that never die kind of attitude that's really strong right now at Chelsea. And Liam Rosenior said after the game, the manager, that tactics went out the window and it was all about motivating the players. It's all about mental resilience. So that just proves what you're saying there, and looking really strong. And Robert Sanchez at half time was a lot of boos runs Stamford Bridge, by the way, but he was calming Chelsea fans, going, look, 45 minutes to go. So he's like implemented like a calmness, knowing that the game is never kind of
fueled,
over.
aren't they? They're fueled
they are.
with motivation.
Interesting, yeah. The Chelsea of old, I think, like it'd be awful. They're 2-0 down half time. I think the mood around the camp would be awful, and they wouldn't be at the game, I think, whereas they're not now. They're in the game. So yeah, Chelsea flying under Liam Rosenior. Really good start. Honestly, look good in every game. And if they don't look good, they get a result. That's the thing. Sometimes they're not pretty, but he's brought in to deliver results. He's done exactly that. And I thought, oh my God, Chelsea are horrific in the first half, and at times the second half as well. But they find a way. They find a way. But Louis, you're right. Regular on this Scarfey Talks Premier League podcast. As a West Ham fan, he's frustrated with their defence. I watched the game. I thought they defended well. but until they brought Max Gilman on, and I hate to single out individuals, but he's been a catastrophic signing, and Louis will tell you himself. He comes on, and it was 2-1, I believe, at the time, but they boom, go and concede 2 goals. And Chelsea have got a goal fine, but West Ham's still defending strong, but they make that change, and it's just Gilman just doesn't seem aligned with the West Ham defence. His positioning's different. He doesn't pick up his man. He wasn't, I don't think he was awful at Wolves, but maybe it just shows you've got strong players around you and you look better than you actually are. But Ollie, thank you very much. Sophie, on to you before we move on to the next game. There's some ugly scenes at the end involving Pedro, Adama Traore, which I'm sure we all would have seen. And, Palmer gets involved and crazy stuff, right? Absolutely crazy. Todibo was the one who got booked. So, talk us through those post-match scenes. There's a lot that you can unpick here. So, pick out whatever you like, but it's a bit crazy.
Yeah, I didn't see a lot of it, to be honest, but I just saw a bit of it. But yeah, it is a bit crazy at the end. I mean, it's difficult, isn't it, for West Ham? Because, they did work hard in some aspects, and it was a promising performance from them. So I think they're probably really frustrated. Like we said with Chelsea, they've definitely improved. So with these sort of games, I think there's gonna be a bit of competition and passion in it at the end. But yeah, it is a bit crazy, really, for the players to be like that at the end. Really, I don't agree with it, really, but you're better just leaving it and accepting the loss and stuff. But yeah, a bit crazy at the end, wasn't it? Really.
Absolutely crazy. I mean, you got Adama Traore that throws Cucurella by his hair
That was
on the
mad.
floor. Yeah, he flew 1,000 miles, and then Pedro very unhappy with that, but quickly regretting his decision with Traore. I mean, anyone should be afraid. Traore charging towards him, and that was a great tussle. Then Todibo gets involved. He's sent off for violent conduct because he goes for Pedro's throat, really, or the head kind of area. He wasn't happy, and then Palmer standing up for Pedro, wanting to fight everyone. So yeah, so some crazy scenes, but that's the thing, West Ham, you're going to lose your head a little bit, when you're in that position. You need points. They clearly care, the West Ham players. Will give them that, especially since Nuno's come in. So 2-0 up and throw it away. A lot of frustration in the camp. Sophie, sticking with you, next game, Liverpool 4, Newcastle 1. Feels strange to say that after the first half. Liverpool, don't get me wrong, went into the break 2-1 up, but Newcastle were cruising for about 41 minutes, got the first goal, and that prompted a reaction from Liverpool. So in the end, Liverpool stormed away in the second half.
Yeah, it was a crazy game as well, because obviously Anthony Gordon did get an incredible goal, and I think with Newcastle, an issue they're probably having at the moment is they're not playing bad at all. They're dominating spells of the game, but they just can't really finish their chances. And like when you look at that scoreline, it does seem like a battering. It really does. And obviously Liverpool do seem to have a bit more confidence about them, and I think it was great as well. We saw a few different goal scorers for Liverpool in this game. I thought TK was really good. I thought his goals were great. And yeah, I think Liverpool were definitely ruthless in this game. But like we said, Newcastle did have their fair chances in this game, but they just couldn't really finish them, which is a big shame, because I think the scoreline could have been a bit closer if they were a bit more ruthless.
I think that's so true, Sophie. Thank you very much. Agree with that. Mikey, what did you make of this game as a whole? But I want you, if that's possible, to speak about that second half then. Liverpool really taking the game away from Newcastle. Who stood out to you the most? Because Ekitike looks like he's on fire at the moment. Wirtz has clearly turned a corner and played very well. And then just together, they seem to take the game away from Eddie Howe's side.
Yeah, no, it was a difficult game to analyze, because as we'll come on to later with the Spurs Man City game, it's a game of two halves, but 4-1 definitely doesn't flatter Newcastle. And I've got a friend who's a Newcastle fan who was absolutely fuming with the result. It was ecstatic at the end of the kind of 41 minutes in, as you mentioned, and then he was back down to earth. I think Ekitike is those massive shout out. That second finish with the little flick, you think he's going to go a left foot across the keeper, and he just flicks it past. I think it was Nick Pope in goal. It's an amazing finish. Florian Wirtz is finally in his groove. The second half was amazing for a Liverpool fan, but I want to give a shout out to Ibu Konate. Obviously, not a shout. He's never going to see this, but you know what I mean. Like he had a very tough time of it personally with the loss of his father and everything. And for him to get the fourth goal, no matter how it goes, and obviously it trickled across the line, but it looked like the goalkeeper was scrambling to get back. And I'm not a believer, but it looked like a little bit of divine intervention. He was pushing that ball across the line, and I'm sure he must have felt very proud to dedicate the goal to his father. So that's a really great storyline there. But from an analysis point of view, Liverpool are definitely on their way to recovering some of the form that they were severely lacking in the first half of the season. And whilst I don't think they can go on and challenge for the league title, I think they'll definitely head back towards the upper echelons and challenge like Man City and Aston Villa for those places, kind of behind the unfortunate league leaders. But either way, we can obviously admit that the Ibrahim Konate story is a really good one, and I'm very, very happy that Liverpool fans, that they're starting to get their groove back.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to raise that with Ollie, and I'm not going to now. You mentioned it there. Thank you so much. And yeah, I echo that myself. And of course, I'm part of the channel. And Konate is a player that goes through, a lot in terms of he gets a lot of stick. Some of it's fair, some of it not fair, really. And I think he's often like people annoyed with how Liverpool fans are annoyed with how they're getting this season, and football fans look at Liverpool and go, they're falling off. I think Konate's an easy target because he's part of a backline that's conceding more goals, and he makes mistakes. Yes, he's definitely not the only one. But what a lovely story! What a lovely story, and a great goal, and he's emotional as well, and that just shows that players are human as well. So yeah, really, I was happy for Konate. Definitely, I saw that. Mikey, thank you for raising that. Ollie, can I ask you about Newcastle? They adopted a man-to-man approach, which works so well for 40 minutes superbly. Liverpool didn't have a sniff. They hardly had a shot in that first half, and Newcastle went 1-0 up, and even that Newcastle pushing for a second. I mean, there was something, I can't remember what it was. There was something, I was watching the game, and there's something changed. I think that was it. It was a tackle for a Newcastle player. I'm convinced it was Lewis Hall. Goes in with 2 foot in the air. Really superb tackle, but super risky and aggressive. And then you think, great, they've won the ball. It's a really great thing to do. But it just rallied the Liverpool fans. They got really involved in the game from that point, and the players responded. Big tackles flying in, and the crowd went up again, and then that helped Liverpool get the goal, and boom, they're back in the game. Then the momentum means they get a second, they go into the break at half time. I'd argue just from that tackle that Lewis Hall's thinking he's doing a great thing. Liverpool, because of momentum, because of the crowd, because of the players on the pitch, they've gone and scored 2 goals, and then Newcastle scratching their heads at half time. So strange game, but were you impressed with how Newcastle approached it? It seemed like the perfect tactical setup, which is a weird thing to say when you lose 4-1.
Yeah, it's very risky to do that sort of thing at Anfield as well, actually. I think obviously it didn't pay off in the end, but I think to do that, maybe it caught Liverpool off guard considering they're at home. I think the home advantage Liverpool have is a massive thing for them, and obviously helped them to win 4-1 in the end. I think obviously one of the factors as to why eventually the score ended up what it was is probably, if you look at their squad, it's really not, I don't think it's really that good enough to compete with the ones up there such as Liverpool at the moment. I know they've got a lot of injuries at the moment. Obviously some of the key ones like Joe Linton and Gomaris is out. I don't know if he's injured or not, but he is out at the moment, and that doesn't help. Obviously their midfield isn't really good enough at the moment, and I think eventually with a man-to-man approach, I don't think it's going to work with the players they have. I think their midfield, Joe Willock and Ramsey, I don't think that style is going to work for them. I don't think the players they got can last that long with that man-to-man intense approach. But I think that's all they could have done going where they were going. Obviously Liverpool can strike quickly, and that's what they do. Ekatike is a rapid player. It's hard for the defense to stop him, and I think in the end, it was a worthy result for Liverpool. But I think it was unlucky for Newcastle. I don't think they did much wrong in the game at all. I think just in the second half, they got completely outclassed, and I think that was kind of expected with the fact Liverpool at home, the squad that Newcastle have at the moment, and obviously the tactics they put in, which eventually wore off. I don't think there was much of a plan B for that game.
Didn't seem that way at all, but it may be in a good initial setup. Thank you very much. Mikey, going to come to you. This was a big result. Aston Villa 0, Brentford 1, and Brentford played over 45 minutes, more than a whole half, with 10 men. So before the game, this is a huge result, but even bigger when they have a man light, of course, at their own fault, their own expense. But I think they coped with that extremely well. But what it meant is that Brentford then sat back, which of course is not what Villa want. So is that a good example of where 10 men can work against the other team, because all of a sudden you've got to adapt your game plan and you just got to have 11, 10 men behind the ball.
I think that's exactly what happened. I think back to when Tottenham played Liverpool a couple seasons ago when Liverpool went down to 9 men, and against 10 men we couldn't break them down, and then eventually against 9 men we scored the winner through a Canate own goal. But when you get 10 men, you sit defensive, and most the Premier League is renowned for its intensity. It's end to end. It's hyper speed nature. And then when a man goes down, especially someone like Kevin Schade, who is so fast, so rapid on the counter attack, so integral to the way Brentford play, along with obviously Igor Thiago, it resets a little bit. And obviously it was really close to half time. So they get to the end of the half unscathed, and then they sit up. They sit back. Their coach implemented some tactical changes, which allowed them to ultimately win the game. And whilst they survived an onslaught, so to speak, it was still from what I saw, the Villa kept coming at them, and then obviously Abraham scored, and it was ruled offside and everything. But I think Brentford just kind of, for want of a better word, they kind of pushed and shoved, kicking and screaming towards the win, and ultimately it gave them the points that they need. And it's another twist in the title race, because obviously Villa and City are kind of Arsenal's closest rivals. I'm sure she'll come on to that, but it was a good result. I'm in West London, so I'm close to Brentford. They're a club close to my heart, and I'm very happy to see them win. And it was a good win for Keith Andrews' side. Yeah,
Definitely was. Thank you very much for that. Sophie, I'll come to you. Big disappointment for Unai Emery and Aston Villa. I mean, of course, delight for you as an Arsenal fan, and we get onto it. But you won. City only drew. Threw away 2 points from a winning position by 2 goals, and Villa lose. I mean, did you ever see Villa as a title contender? I mean, Unai Emery himself has said that Villa aren't even top 5 contenders, which was a surprise when he said it at the time. But results like this and performances like this make people think, maybe he actually knows what's going on inside the dressing room, and he knows that Villa aren't capable of top 5.
Yeah, it's so tough right now, isn't it? Because I think they're only a point behind Man City. So I still think they're still there, but I don't think they'll be here for a lot of the season going forward. Don't think they have what it takes just yet to probably close that gap between Arsenal and Man City. But yeah, I mean, them losing, you do expect them to really win a game like this, and they did have some great chances. But again, it has been a good weekend for Arsenal, and yeah, Brentford did us a favour and helped us out. But yeah, I think Villa are still there. I think obviously for them getting top 4 is great, and they obviously want to compete a bit more. I know Emery's not really come out and said that they're really in a title race or they're close to a title race. But we'll have to see how they get on throughout the season, because I don't think any of us would have expected them to be third this close to Arsenal. They have had chances, obviously, to overtake Man City, so I don't think they're there just yet. But I think they've really improved over these past few seasons, and yeah, I think they needed a win in this game, really. But yeah, fair play to Brentford though for getting the job done with 10 men as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Fair play to them. Ollie, do you worry for them now with no Kevin Schade through suspension? I just think if you take Thiago and Schade out of Brentford and long throws, that maybe they'd struggle quite a bit.
I wouldn't be sure actually. I think they've got resources. They've got plenty of things going for them, and most of all, they've got momentum at the moment. I think it maybe proved difficult for them scoring goals wise, as I know earlier on in the season when they were struggling and a lot of people were doubting them, they were struggling to find chances to create goals and most of all score them. And obviously Thiago eventually got into scoring form and he scored plenty. So it may be it may be a little bit difficult for them, but I think Schade isn't a massive loss. Personally, I don't think he offers too much. However, I think they've got what they need. Obviously, Dango Atara is very good for them. Actually, he's their perfect pick. Actually, I actually really miss him here as well. Because he comes in clutch, and I think that's what Brentford need. I think they are quite a clutch team. Because they want to be clinical. They want to. They want, obviously, with their set pieces, they make sure everything is perfect to be clinical. And they did that against Villa as well. I thought it was unlucky from Villa with their disallowed goal, obviously, being out of play. It's it's very unlucky for them that they didn't at least get a draw out of that. But I think Brentford could be very happy that they defended really well. I think they can take that on to next game with that full momentum, and hopefully score some goals, which I think they will.
I think they will as well. I agree with you. Thank you. I think they will. And Tammy Abraham, you're right. Looked like the perfect return for him in Villa colours, but denied through offside by what? That much? Literally, really, really
Unlucky.
little.
So unlucky.
Indeed, but a lot of Villa fans were calling up on radio. I mean, it's on home. Going home from the Tottenham game, and people calling in 5 Live, TalkSport, moaning about officiating and a load of other things. So Villa fans unhappy by that result. No surprise. Next game, then another 5-goal thriller, but not at Stamford Bridge this time. Another big venue, but Old Trafford, 3-2 to Manchester United. Ollie, I'll start with you. I mean, I want to get your thoughts on this game as a whole. I mean, absolutely crazy. A lot happening. But it's 3 wins in a row ultimately for Michael Carrick and Manchester United. That's all that matters.
Yeah, I think it's great for him actually. I think he's deserved that actually. I think watching him a few times with his Middlesbrough side, I think he's done well with them. Obviously, his time with Middlesbrough ended eventually because he kind of lost it a little bit and everything kind of fell apart for him there. But coming into this Man United job, he started off really well. He's got them scoring, which is the most important thing. I think Fulham played well as well, actually. It's hard to go to Old Trafford and get a win. It really is, especially if you're with Michael Carrick's side at the moment where they're free flowing, scoring goals, and obviously they're defending a bit better than they did. But I thought Fulham came in really well, and obviously they got more chances to score actually. And I say credit to Fulham for that one. It's hard to get a win against a side who have 2 great results. But yeah, Man United did well to get the win in the end. I think it was a battle between 2 really good sides, personally.
I think so as well. Absolutely crazy. Sophie, I mean, the second goal from Fulham was a beaut from Kevin. What an amazing goal. Hasn't hit the ground running, really. Mostly found himself on the bench, but what a goal. That's just what he's capable of, and that's why they pay the big bucks.
Yeah, I mean, it was a fantastic goal, and as we said as well, I think both sides were really good. I think it was tough for Fulham to lose right at the end. It's always tough when that happens, but yeah, I definitely think if he can get more of those goals, he's going to be so important for Fulham. But yeah, I think Fulham were actually really good to come back, and I think Fulham do play some great football, but obviously it's just unfortunate. It's not nice to concede right at the end. So I think Fulham are a great side, and yeah, I think they played some great football as well in this game. But United are definitely improving and doing a lot good as well.
They are under Michael Carrick. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Mikey as well to win it. Benjamin Sesko. Can he really kick on from this? He's been better in recent weeks. Key goal, swivel and turn, very nice goal, and to win it for United.
No, it was a really, really good goal. I was in the pub getting ready for the Spurs game, and that was the game they happened to have on. So I was watching the ending with my dad, and when Kevin scored, it was a beauty. I can't disagree. It was an absolute beauty of a goal, and it probably would have been my goal of the weekend, apart from one that we'll come on to a little bit later on. But definitely an outstanding strike. It kind of reminds me a little bit when Harrison Reed just let fly from 30 yards out. They've got a habit of scoring great goals late on against the big boys at the moment, but just so unfortunate. But Šeško is really, really tucked into the top corner. It's a cracking finish, and to be honest, it's what they needed right now. Man United need momentum. They're a team that I fully believe they've got all the players there to fully become an established top 4 contender again. They just need to be guided by the right voice. And it looks like Michael Carrick is certainly doing that for now, between now and the end of the season. Whether or not he'll be given the chance to do it into next season and whether that will continue remains to be seen. Obviously, Spurs have United next at Old Trafford, so it's going to be a very interesting game on Saturday. But in terms of Šeško's goal, I'm sure it will do him the world of good. He was starting to look like a little bit like the next Rasmus Højlund, but he's slowly starting to come into his own, and I'm very happy for the Slovakian. I want to say one of the Sloveno-Slovakian striker. So good for him.
Absolutely, and it was Ollie. If I come back to you, would you agree with me in terms of my summary of the game that 2 good teams, 2 informed teams going head to head in what was ultimately a Premier League or Barclays Classic? 5 goals in the game. It just felt like you just knew, didn't you? Even if you hadn't done your research, you hadn't been watching football before that. Let's say it's the first game you watch, you could tell it was two teams in form that were both wanting to win. That's what I love. Both teams weren't happy with 2-2. Both trying to keep going, and it's just crazy. I mean, I wish that game went on for ages and ages.
Yeah, it was an absolute classic, I reckon. I think, as you say, yeah, I think you're correct. It was a battle between two really good sides, two really good Premier League sides that know how to score goals. And I think, yeah, no, it was a really, really good game. But I think, as I've said in the comments just now, I think both sides will take confidence. I know Fulham didn't win, but I think they'll take that and move it on to the next game and be able to hopefully provide that and get a win, because I think they'll get a win with that kind of performance. They were just a bit unlucky that in the end they didn't. But I think, an away game like that, if you put a performance in like that every week, if you go back to Craven Cottage and provide that kind of performance, you'll get wins. And I think Fulham will carry on getting wins. I don't know where they'll finish in the end, because it's quite hard to predict a team like Fulham. I know they have spells where they don't exactly perform that they want to, and then some games like this one they perform really well, and I think that will keep their momentum high, and hopefully next game they will do well and get some wins.
Definitely. Yeah, Fulham have really turned the corner, and Manchester United looking good under Michael Carrick. Will he get the job? We'll have to see permanently. We'll have to find out in the summer. As the way things continue, possibility he might. Forest 1, Palace 1 is the next game. Sophie, would you say in the end it's a good result for Forest? And again, it's a weird thing to say because they go 1-0 up inside 5 minutes. And usually a team that goes 1-0 up inside 5 minutes is not a good result if they don't end up winning the game. But in this one, Forest going down to 10, Palace, pushing. So in the end, do you think Forest would take that, considering West Ham got nothing as well and Leeds nothing as well this weekend?
It is tough, isn't it? Because they do really need to win these sort of games. But I think, like you said, because of the other results as well, I don't think it's the worst result they could have had. Especially if they're down 10 men. So yeah, I think at this point they need to fight for any sort of points to stay up. But especially now, because other teams have dropped points, they probably feel happier that they've got at least something out of the game. But again, they really want to be staying up and winning these games as well. But I think, considering the circumstances that they were 10 men down, I think you would take that. If you're at Forest, I would anyway.
Fair enough. No, it's a good point you make. Mikey, what did you think of this game? Is a draw fair, or did one side edge it over the other for you?
I think a draw is fair. Obviously, the penalty decision, the ball was going in. Lerma's header was going to go in anyway, and for Nico Williams to play goalkeeper, obviously it's deserved red card. Palace go ahead and score through Ismail Assar, and ultimately they go on to get a draw. I think, it's a fair reflection of where both teams are, kind of that the 15th to 17th bracket. Both teams needed a win and neither team got the win. So it's like you try and please everyone and no one ends up being happy. So it looks like Forest will think that's probably 2 points dropped. But as you said, in a weekend where Leeds didn't pick anything up and West Ham didn't pick anything up, every point counts. So they're 1 point ahead of their relegation rivals, which is nothing to turn down. And as for Palace, they haven't finished any. I think they finished between like 10th and 14th for like the last 7 or 8 years, and they look like they're kind of slowly on course to do that again. They're the most kind of mid-table team to ever mid-table in the Premier League, which is, I guess that's good for them. It's a sustainable position and they can build on it. But I'm very, very happy. Very, very happy. I'm sure that Palace fans will be very, very happy being able to get back into the game because they were pushing, but then the other team could just get the win, which is unfortunate for both teams.
That's the thing. So draw, not disastrous at Palace again without a win, but ends their losing streak for Forest as well. Just got to pick up points at this stage. Could they get distracted as a thing with Forest? We're playing in the Europa League. Time to tell on that one. Big game this. I want to get to it because it might take a few minutes to discuss. Tottenham 2, Man City 2. Mikey, as a Spurs fan, I'm going to start with you. I mean, I don't know about you. I think that first half was spineless. It was gutless. It was quite pathetic from Tottenham, even with the little we had available. In that second half, though, massive fight. That, for me, shows the players are behind Thomas Frank. So considering in the second half, Romero come off ill at half-time, meant that we had only 11 senior players fit. Are you proud of the team for fighting back in this game?
After the game, I was very, very angry. I was sitting with my dad, and I was visibly fuming because I think if we can play like that in the second half, why can't we play like that in the first half? That was my thinking. Is that Tottenham have done that before in recent weeks, where we've played an amazing half and then had a not so good half. The Dortmund game is testament to that. We had a brilliant first half and then kind of managed the game out fair enough for the second half, and that's understandable. But it's a games of two halves are coming thick and fast for Tottenham, and we can't really afford for that at the moment, given where we are. We have to be able to put in consistent performances, and we're just not. With the players we have out, yes, it's unfortunate, but I think I read a tweet somewhere, and obviously Twitter is not the most reliable source of information, but I read it, X. I read a post on there that said when Spurs have been forced into changes by injury, it's actually ended up working better for them. You know, Palin has been forced to play centre-back. Solanke is forced to play up top every week, despite maybe in an ideal situation, you ease him back in. But it's worked out for us. You know, Palin was imperious in the second half against City, not giving him a sniff until the last kind of 5 or 10 minutes. And I genuinely think we could have gone on to win that game with a slice of luck. You know, Xavi Simons and Odebear both forced great saves from Donnarumma, who's obviously a world-class goalkeeper. You expect him to make those saves, but it's still, we were knocking on the door, and it very easily could have been 3-2 Spurs, being Man City's bogey team again, helping them a lot down the road, unfortunately, as well. And yeah, it's a crazy, crazy game. But what I can't understand is why we can't play like that in the first half as well. That's the biggest talking point, I think, along with Solanke's incredible goal.
Absolutely, I agree with that. Thank you very much, Mikey. Do appreciate it. I mean, if only we could play like we did in that second half, eh?
Exactly.
Something good for more often. Be completely different. But hey, Mikey, thank you very much for your thoughts on that. Sophie, I mean, perfect scenario, do you think, for you? Of course, you won't want Tottenham winning as an Arsenal fan, but also City winning at the moment is not what you want at all. So I'd argue for you, perfect outcome, and the City are left frustrated after the game.
Yeah, I mean, I did watch a bit of the game as well, and like you said, in the first half, I think Man City were all over you really, and I think defensively you did struggle quite a lot. And like you said, it is crazy how different you are in that second half. You were like a different team, and I get why you'd be frustrated at that, because again, if you can do that in the second half, why couldn't you show that sort of energy and fighting spirit in the first half? And I think you make a great point, Harry, because obviously with Thomas Frank, it's a tough one, isn't it? But it shows you that if the players are turning up, they must have some sort of fight for Thomas Frank to be here. They must want him, because I think if you came out the same in the first half, it'd probably say that the team don't really want to fight for Thomas Frank. So I still think the players are fighting for him a bit. But yeah, obviously for Arsenal, it helps us a bit in the title race. But yeah, a much better half from Spurs, especially in that second half, and the goals were great as well. But yeah, I think shame you couldn't win, but a good result for you guys against Man City. Man City is that team for you guys. You just seem to get points off them. So yeah, a much better half from Tottenham.
Better half for Tottenham. I agree with that. Thank you. Ollie, can I get your thoughts as maybe a neutral, let's just say, in this game? What did you make of it? I mean, it seemed absolutely crazy. Solanke saving Tottenham with 2 goals, including a scorpion kick in that second half.
Yeah, I think it was when the first half ended, I thought, wow, Tottenham look absolutely dire. Like there was nothing going for them, and I thought at that point, I think it's all gone for Tottenham. And in the second half, Tottenham were really, really good, and I think that's the first time, or one of the first times under Thomas Frank, where I've seen a very, never say die performance in the second half, where they've come out second half and they've been absolutely brilliant. I was trying to look through kind of a couple of Tottenham's results and seen when that happened. I haven't really seen that at all, and I think that's a good thing about them at the moment. I think that's going to really help their confidence going forward, and I think this result might be massive against Man City as well, who Man City in the first half, I think they looked like title winners, and I think that second half is going to hurt Man City a lot going forward. And I think for Tottenham, this could be a potential turning point. Obviously, that's quite reactionary to say, but it could well be. And I think it's absolute key that you have Solanke back as well. And I think Thomas Frank knows how to work with Solanke as well. He's seen enough over Solanke over the years. Solanke has terrorized him with Brentford for several years. And I think he's known how to deal with Solanke. He's known how to play him. And I think he's happy to have him back fit. And I think that will be the key to how Tottenham perform in the next few months. And I think that's a massive key for them.
You're absolutely right there. Thank you very much for that. Crazy game. Man City hardly had to get out first gear in that first half, and they were rattled in that second half, and Tottenham with the momentum. The final game then was last night. For those listening live, Monday night, Sunderland and Burnley. I looked at that and went, I'll back Sunderland, but this will be interesting. By the time I turned the TV on, it took me so long to finish the deadline day stream, it's 3-0 Sunderland. I thought, oh, yeah, there goes my thinking that it's going to be an interesting game because Sunderland absolutely cruised. But if I come to you first, Sophie, what really impressed me from the little bit that I saw was that Sunderland were really professional in that second half. It's so easy to take your foot off the gas, just not concentrate, right? Maybe concede a goal, concede two, or just boom, stays how it is. But Sunderland was still looking to score more goals, and they played really well in that second half still. So I was really impressed with their performance, and they're still unbeaten at the Stadium of Light at home.
Yeah, they've had such a great season. I think they've done so much better than what we've expected. I think going into the season for them coming up, I probably did think they would stay up, but they've done amazing. They really have. Like you said, even though they're winning, they come out in the second half. They come out and still want to score more and win this game. I think this game is interesting because I actually thought it would have been a lot closer with the scoreline, especially because Burnley are right at the bottom and they need to and pick up points desperately. So yeah, Sunderland were ruthless. They were amazing to get a clean sheet as well. But again at home they're really good. They've actually picked up a lot of points from Arsenal, from other teams as well. And yeah, they're having a really good season. I've been pleasantly surprised by them, and obviously we've got them coming up. Thankfully we have them at home, but they are a great side and they've definitely surprised a lot of people.
Do they 100% do. Thank you very much. Mikey, where does Burnley go from here? Because now relegation looks like more real than ever. It looks like it's going to happen. So it doesn't look good for Scott Parker's side. They weren't really active in the transfer window, only really James Ward-Prowse. So, I mean, Burnley must be kicking themselves. Scott Parker seemed defeated after the game. He talked about his time as a player and just how disappointed he was. So it doesn't look good for Burnley at the moment.
No, it doesn't. The mood around the camp looks, again, as you say, Scott Parker looks defeated. It's like, as I mentioned with Wolves earlier, it looks like 2 of the 3 relegation spots are starting to slowly be filled. Obviously, the other one is up for grabs with West Ham, Forest, dare I say Tottenham as well. So there's definitely a mood around the camp that suggests it might be time to pack it in, but not me saying Burnley should pack it in, but from the players itself, because as far as I know, like I keep up to date with Premier League highlights every week, and I think I know the least amount of Burnley players off the top of my head than any other team in the league, and that's a testament to my own knowledge. But I guess saying that, it's just they are starting to become like the Norwich of old, like a perennial kind of too good for the Championship, not good enough for the Premier League kind of yo-yo club, and they don't have the guidance of Vincent Kompany to obviously we're seeing how good he's doing at Bayern Munich, but they don't have the guidance of Vincent Kompany anymore. And a manager like Scott Parker, how inspiring is that name? And I don't mean from a player point of view, I just mean from a name point of view. You hear Scott Parker, it reminds me of like hearing Alan Pardew or Steve Bruce. It doesn't inspire a huge amount of confidence that he can change up this team and bring them towards where they need to be, because you saw after, for example, when Liverpool beat Bournemouth 9-0, you saw his reaction after that, how you can get bogged down in how, sorry to bring that up, Ollie, but you see how he can kind of get bogged down in when things are going bad. It can be kind of hard to get out of a rut, and you need a character who can do that. And Scott Parker doesn't strike me as the kind of person who has the not the mentality, but the attitude to galvanize people and say, we've got something to fight for. Let's go for it. So I think Burnley are definitely in a lot of trouble. Not as bad as Wolves, but definitely in trouble.
I agree with that. Thank you very much. Ollie, anything to add on this game before we end?
Burnley are terrible. I think that's the assessment we get over it. I think they are very poor, and I think Burnley aren't going to go to the Stadium of Light and go, we're going to get 3 points here. We're going to get even a draw, likely, because, Sunderland haven't lost there. Sunderland are really good at home. I think that's a given. We know that. That's a fact. But Burnley looks so, so poor. I don't know where they go from here. I don't know if Scott Parker's time is up, because he has a thing of saying some very colourful words after he gets a poor result, such as throwing people under the bus, as we know that. And he's already said that before with Burnley this season. And I'm surprised he didn't get sacked at that point, actually. But I think he looks defeated. The squad looked defeated. And I think when you're saying things like that about your players, because I think he mentioned earlier in the season that his squad that he has currently isn't good enough. And I think as a player, when you're hearing that and you've made your way to the Premier League, achieving your dream, playing in the Premier League, and you're being told you're not good enough, it's not going to be very good for the players, is it? And I think as it's gone on, Burnley have looked worse than they did at the start of the season. Obviously, Jadon Anthony was providing at the start of the season. He's not really anymore. I know he scored against Man United the other week, but he, before then he hadn't scored anything. Since then he hasn't scored. The squad looks defeated. On the other hand, Sunderland look really good. I think if they keep this up, I saw an interview from Labrise earlier saying they just want to get a couple more points to just ensure they can stay up, and I think that's their goal. I think that's totally fair from them. I think the objective this season is just to stay up. If they get anything more than that, that's a bonus. I think obviously for Burnley, I think it's a bit bleak for them at the moment. I think the gap between them and the relegation zone, safety zone, is increasing, and I don't see much optimism for them, if I'm honest, because they look absolutely awful at the minute, and I think they need to sort things out. And I think the one signing they made of Ward-Prowse in the January transfer window was a bit of a signing saying, hey, look, we tried. Thanks everyone for keeping us company in the Premier League. That was about it really for them. I think they've accepted defeat.
Looks like that way. It really looks like they have, and it doesn't look good for Burnley. Not over, of course, but big games coming back. They have to win. They don't win many games at all. But I think that wraps us up nicely. This episode of the Scarfey Talks Premier League podcast as we review Game Week 24. Thank you to everyone that's listened and got involved in the comments. It's now available. This podcast, it is, I repeat, now available on all major podcast platforms. So please do check it out. If you listen there, drop us a follow and a 5-star review. If you enjoyed this and listen on YouTube and you haven't already, please do subscribe and of course follow all my wonderful guests, which you'll find out now when you can find them. Sophie, thank you very much for your time. Great to have you on, always is. Where can people follow you on your socials? Please do plug them all.
Thank you for having me on, and I've had a great time with all of you, and it's been great to be on here again. If you do want to check out my YouTube, it is Gooner Gossip TV, and on Twitter I am TV_Gooner.
Sophie, great stuff. Keep up the great work. You do some fantastic content. Collaborate with some amazing people. So keep it up, and thank you very much for your time. Wish you all the best. Sophie, thank you. Ollie, thank you very much for coming on. Great to have you as a regular on the Scarfey Talks Premier League podcast. A fantastic guest. Where can people follow you on the socials? Do plug them all as well.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for the new guest joining us as well. It's been an absolute pleasure. You can follow me on Simply AFCB, just listed in the blue. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you again. It's good to do 2 days in a row. I've really, really enjoyed it. Looking forward to doing the next one.
Look forward to having you. Thank you very much, Ollie. Really do appreciate it. It should be good. I love it when you come on. So thank you very, very much. Mikey, thank you very much. Solid debut from yourself. Thank you. It'd be great to have you back on. Thank you. And hopefully I can bring you on after Spurs win, although we might be waiting a little while if it's down to the league anyway. But where can people follow you, my friend, on social media?
Firstly, it's good to be here. Thanks for the shout out from Ollie, and pleasure to be on here with Gooner Gossip and Ollie and you, Harry, as well. You can find me. I mostly use my Instagram. It's just my name and surname put all into one, Mikey Kualoy, and I probably should have Probably should have put them together so people can find it more easily, but it is my debut, so I'm learning the tricks of the trade as I go. Or you can follow me on Twitter. I'm not really active on there. I tend to be more active on my Instagram, though. So go ahead and follow me there if people want to.
Great stuff. Thank you so much. Follow all my fantastic guests on social media. Thank you very much. Big up to you all and good luck to your club as we go into, game week 25. But we'll be back, don't worry, before then, because on Thursday is the next episode of the Scarfey Talks Premier League podcast. We will be previewing game week 25. But thank you very much. It's crazy January. So thank you all for your support with deadline day. And yesterday was crazy. And I really enjoyed the podcast today, as always. So thank you all and have a great evening, great morning, great day, great night, wherever you're listening. And thank you very much.